A lot of times when I journal, I don't edit my kids' names because this is not something that I'm planning to show on the internet. So right now I'm covering up the one name in here that I can't show you. But this is basically how I've been journaling in here on the daily pages. I've been using the schedule section to kind of do a little bit of like an outline of how the day went. And then I use the today part and I ignore these check boxes. I basically write right over them and just blurt out whatever I feel like I need to. I use the MakeseLife reflection prompts. I am not using a MakeseLife planner this year. I decided not to. I decided to just do my own thing after using the MakeseLife system for a few years. So I have been using my journal to record those weekly reflections on the Sunday pages. And I keep my actual goals and like weekly actions in my sprouted planner. So let me show you what last week was like. So this is, and I've covered up some things that I can't show you, but this is an example of how I've been using this planner. And this is going to, like, looking back on this kind of helps me remember what happened in the week so that I can reflect accurately. I do remember like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was out every single day. And by Monday, I was like, whew, that was a lot. I need time to kind of decompress and process. So having this out is part of the whole reflection process. It's not enough for me to just sit down with a blank page and just start. So sometimes, because of this column here, I will reflect on how that Sunday went a little bit and do like a little bit of journaling about Sunday. However, to be honest, the day that I'm actually doing these weekly reflections is Thursday. The night, the 20th? Yes, it's the 20th. Technically, this far out, I probably would just skip it, but there was a lot that happened last week that I do want to reflect on and write about because when it comes to the end of the month, I refer to these weekly reflections to kind of help me get a grasp on how the entire month went. So, one of the prompts that I use at first is the win. So, I like to start there. So, I'm going to just, and I don't know why, but February, for whatever reason, every time I try and write February, I write a D. So that's why it looks messy. All right, so my wins for the week. Okay, so obviously the biggest win is that I finished and filed our taxes. I scheduled those tax payments out, and that is over with. It's such a mental burden. Let me know in the comments if that's the same for you. And I also would be interested to know if you do it on your own. I do mine on my own, like using TurboTax software. I've been doing it forever, partly because I feel comfortable with it because of my background. My degree was a finance major, and then I went on and I completed a financial planning certification, and that further I further learned about taxes and stuff. So I feel very confident using a TurboTax software to do my taxes on my own. There has been a few times where I've used a professional, but yeah, that's done. Let me know if yours is done. It's technically right around this time of year is usually when I have mine done. So I'm happy to get that done and over with. Okay, I went on a date with my husband actually on Sunday. I can write it down right here, but I also put it in my wins. Uh, we watched the new Captain America. It was all right. I think I liked the most about it was the inner conflict that Cap had about being chosen by Steve Rogers to be the new Captain America. There was, I guess, a bit of like imposter syndrome situation happening. I don't want to spoil it for people who might not have watched it, but I appreciated that inner conflict in the movie. Beyond that, the movie just was a typical Marvel movie. We love Marvel movies around here. Don't get me wrong. Another big win was I was accepted into the Erin Condren affiliate program. Now, y'all might be confused. Oh, I wrote affiliated. That's fine. I'm not going to fix it. Sometimes I make mistakes. We had to redo it, our applications. They're trying to, they're changing the system a little bit. I don't know if I'm supposed to share this or not. If I get kicked out because I said this, oh well. But they're just trying to make sure that they redo all the ones who were accepted and then like re-accept the ones that they want to keep. So I was accepted. I was a little nervous about that. So thank you for everybody who's ever used my affiliate links for Erin Condren and shopped using my links. Obviously, that's helped. Or you've watched my videos related to the Erin Condren products I've shared. All that helps in a way for me to continue to be an affiliate for them. So that was exciting. I was nervous that I wasn't going to get accepted, and I was. So, hooray! So that was a big deal. Big deal for me. Let's see. I was able to find my 14-year-old a used Apple Watch at a really great price, like $50, a little more because of the shipping off Macari. I really recommend if you're looking for something, especially for your kids, and it's an expensive product, and looking secondhand, looking used, and asking questions. A lot of them, I found it extremely odd that there were a lot of watches for sale that were locked and being sold only for parts for like $50, which is ridiculous. I don't know. I don't get it. But anyway, we got our watch because she plays soccer and she's actually going to start reffing for some recreation soccer games, and she needed some kind of a watch to keep track of time. And I found out that there's this cool app that they can use on the Apple Watch. The watch I got was basically in perfect condition, except it had a little scratch on the screen on the top corner, but nothing to where it's like, oh my God. So we got another screen protector to put on it so that it would protect it from further scratches. I ordered a washing machine for a really good deal over the weekend because of like President's Day sales. So ordered new washer, and I'm gonna complain for a minute about the current washer and dryer set that I have. The set I have is only a little over 2 years old. For a really long time, I've been unhappy with it. It's like a Samsung washing machine set. Before that one, I had a Kenmore that we bought back in 2011. So I had that old washing machine forever. And the only reason I needed to replace it was because the bearings were going out and it was extremely loud when it would spin. So it was time. It was going to cost too much to repair. So I got a new one. For whatever freaking reason, I wanted to go back to having a top loader, and I do not know why. And I thought I did a good job researching, but I guess not. And I ended up with what I ended up with. It is what it is, but I just have not liked the machine. I found that for the first time in my life, our towels, like our bath towels, and even our kitchen towels, well, the kitchen towels look stained. Even my wash, I use a lot of rags to like wash, and I actually haven't been because anyway, it's been an ordeal, and I was like, I need to buy a new set. I need some that actually clean, and I don't want stinky towels anymore. It, you guys, it took me, I don't use fabric softener. And obviously, you should never use fabric softener on towels, in case you don't know. So I never would push the fabric softener button. It was over a year, and then one day I noticed I was paying attention to the washing machine while it was doing a rinse cycle, and it literally spit out a cup of water, maybe 2 cups of water, did a little for like 2 seconds, and then drained it out. And that was considered the rinse. And that's because I didn't push the fabric softener button because I never use fabric softener. So I used that washing machine without actually rinsing out my clothes properly for well over a year. So obviously the same thing with the towels. So I went back to the drawing board, did some research, bought myself a Consumer Reports membership because I wasn't going to be trusting a bunch of YouTube videos for this. I was like, no, I need some professional opinions. And if you don't know, Consumer Reports, they actually buy those washing machines and a bunch of other products. They buy them and test them out themselves. They never accept any products from any companies so that they're not biased in their ratings and all that stuff. So my number one was it needs to clean. It needs to actually clean my dang clothes. Also, the other thing, the old washer, well, we haven't received a new one yet. It'll be here in another week. But the Samsung washer, with it being a top load, I have used, my water bill has gone up like 15 bucks per month because it uses so much more water than what I was using in my front loader. So I'm looking forward to having um, cleaner clothes, specifically cleaner towels. Probably have to start over and buy a new set of towels, but I won't question anymore pushing the buttons and figuring out, is this setting that I'm setting it to actually going to wash my dang clothes appropriately? So I am extremely excited for that. It's kind of funny how I've reached that age where like something like that is exciting, but I it's like I don't care about new clothes. Like give me a new set of washing machine and dryer, a new set of washer and dryer because it's just going to make my life so much easier. I don't know. All right, moving on. So wins. I think those are pretty much the wins. Usually my wins are reflection of the goals. So obviously one of the goals I had was I need to get a new washer and dryer, and finishing the taxes is like a financial thing. Partly with this one was we knew we were going to owe this year, so it was I needed to figure out how much, and thankfully it wasn't as much as we thought it would be, so that we could like get our finances in order as far as like how much are we going to be spending on this, and just to know the numbers, right? Like for me, I need to know. Like I need a plan. I need to know what the specifics are. I need the details, and then my mind can relax. So those were the wins for the week. Another thing I like to do is like what worked, what didn't work. MakeseLife also has like adjustments and lessons. I don't usually journal those. It just depends. I've gotten away from those, but definitely I always do the wins, and I always try and focus on like what worked and what didn't work. Because usually just doing those three, it's enough for me to kind of wrap my head around it and figure out what do I need to change potentially, or what do I need to keep doing. Oh, okay. So one of the things that worked was on Wednesday, we had a storm come through around the same time that it was time to pick up the kids at school. So I was in Carline. That's like my absolute worst time for wanting, like, well, wanting, for having storms come through the area is if it's happening at the same time that I have to do car pickup. So it wasn't like a super bad storm at the time. There was one starting to roll in, and it wasn't even too bad, but when a line of storm starts coming in, it gets really windy. And where I live, we tend to get tornado watches pretty consistently. So I don't think we had a tornado watch that day. I can't check my phone. I know because I remember texting my mom and telling her we were under a tornado watch. Yeah, yeah. It says we were under a tornado. So it was on Wednesday. So yeah, that's why I was nervous, because we were under a tornado watch until like 8 p.m. and it was like 2:30 in the afternoon, me in the car line waiting for my kids to get out when the line of storm was about to roll through. So I'm like in my car. Obviously, I'm already thinking, if something happens, I'm like running into the school, not staying in my car, but whatever. I thankfully had the forethought to, I think I said that right, to grab my breathing necklace when I walked out the door. I haven't been wearing it all day like I used to when I first got it. I've been primarily using it like when I leave the house because that's usually when I tend to want to use it. And that day I was like, taking the necklace with me to the car, knowing that I was feeling on edge because of the day. I actually had that morning when I found out I had to do a quick, like, tidy in my closet because that's our designated go to spot in my house for if there's all of a sudden hail outside, which has happened before while we've been under like a tornado warning. That's our designated spot to kind of hide out. And my closet is the designated zone for all the things that need to leave the house or need to get redistributed to another child when they are the appropriate size for those clothes or shoes. So my closet was a disaster of just things like all over the place. So I had to do a quick, like, let's make space and make sure this is okay that morning. But anyway, so Wednesday was a little bit stressful and using the breathing necklace as soon as that storm, because I was reading first, I decided I'm going to distract myself. I'm going to read in the car as opposed to sitting there and not doing anything. When I'm in Carline, I like to stay away from my phone and my devices and either read or journal or just sit and do nothing. But that day, I'm like, I'm not sitting and doing nothing and paying attention to the clouds because that's just going to freak me out more. So I remembered to grab my breathing necklace and I did breathe through the clouds as they rolled in. And that helped me to remain calm and collected, and everything was fine. So, definitely was something that worked. And I'm really glad that I remembered to grab it. Of course, I could have, because I've been practicing enough, I know how the whole breathing thing is supposed to work. It extends your exhale. So, if you don't have a breathing necklace, quick lesson is it's meant to extend your exhale. So the idea is if you take a breath in, a big deep breath in, and you breathe out, you kind of purse your lips like you're going to blow through a straw. And that allows you to extend the exhale and breathe out like through your mouth and just like extend it all the way out to let all the air out your lungs. So the extension of the exhale is what slows down your heart rate, which helps keep you calm and your body is not sending out these alarm bells that are like, "Oh my god, the world's ending." So, um let's see what else worked. We let my daughter babysit until my son came home from work, which is a big deal because we haven't allowed her to do that yet. We've been kind of waiting a little bit till my youngest is 7. So, my or almost 7. She's almost 7. And my daughter is 14. She's actually almost 15. So we were like, okay, I think we can probably trust her for a little while. She's not going to be full on babysitting for too many hours because my son was going to be home soon. So that allowed my husband and I to get some dinner before our movie. Oh, we ate at Outback. So I'm going to write Outback. And this is like so sloppy. I've got this mic in my face, so I can't really get like close to my journal. It's fine. Usually I'm doing this sitting in my bed with my lap desk. So sitting at this desk is a little bit different for me anyway, which is fine. I'm gonna write this to my another thing that worked was my daughter helped wash my husband's laundry, so that he didn't have to worry about taking care of that on Sunday since we actually had went out as a family on Saturday, so we were kind of like gone, so he didn't really have time to do that on Saturday either. So that's always helpful. It's like work laundry. Two of my kids, like now that we're talking about laundry, two of my kids do their own laundry, the older two, like my 18-year-old and 14-year-old. I don't remember how old they were whenever I had them first start, but I know my 10, almost 11-year-old probably should start doing her own stuff. So once we get our new washer next week, I'll probably start teaching her how to do her own laundry. And then back to having a front loader, my little ones can help me actually unload the washer to throw them into the dryer again. Because it wasn't until received my set that I have now, with the top load, that I was like, oh crap, I just made it to where my little kids can't help me because they're gonna fall in if they stand on a stool and try and reach all the way down into the drum. I kind of had taken that for granted that I had a front loader and like the kids could easily help. So that's one of the other benefits of going back to having a front load machine is my kids can actually help. I had my husband, hold on, let me see. I'm trying to think. I'm going to put this under lessons. So I'm going to start a new category, lessons. So my husband and I checked my son's truck, the tail lights. It's an issue where it's not the light bulb, but the socket that the light bulb goes in isn't, it like vibrates itself loose to where it doesn't work. So my husband learned because he was trying to explain to me what he needs to order. He needs to order like the new sockets. So we looked it up and he found out, and then he ended up looking under the truck and noticing that it was like there's like a connection. If you just order the sockets, it's connected. So that was something we learned. And had we known this a lot sooner, he said this, he's like, had he known this a lot sooner, he would have ordered more or ordered it sooner. So I guess the lesson here is when something needs to get fixed, like look up the actual part. We used is it Rock Part? It might be Rockport Auto. Anyway, you just type in the vehicle, like the year, make, model, and it pulls up literally every single part you can imagine based on like a category. So then you can just pick what category and it helps you find the actual part that you need. So lesson is that to like look it up because it's been a problem for years, years. And I actually just ordered the part to fix it, but we also ordered a new latch for the tailgate. That's been broken for God knows how long. And my husband was like, "Well, how much was that part?" And I think it's like $30. And he goes, "Are you kidding me? It's a $30 part that I could have ordered like a billion years ago. You should have seen him open the thing. He used like a screwdriver to like pop it open." And I was like, okay. I have no idea how long ago it had broke, but I know it was a problem with that truck. Specifically that like year. It's like a 20-year-old truck, guys. So, I mean, things break. This has actually been a recurring theme now that I think about it with my husband's truck, which is now like the truck my son uses. It's like something will be wrong with it. For example, we just changed the airbag sensors, and it's something that has been needing to get changed for a while and something I totally had forgotten about. And I looked it up, like how to do it, and it was a really simple thing. And I told my husband how easy it was, and I showed him the video, and he's like, "Well, dang, had I known that it was that easy, I would have did it myself a long time ago." What was expensive was the actual part itself, but still, it's like you think, I guess the idea is like in your head, you're thinking, oh man, like that's one more thing. But if you just take a little time to look into it and figure out what it entails, like, for example, looking up what the part is and maybe even looking into like how to change something and just seeing how complicated it is or isn't. Because I think in our minds, like we always just assume, at least maybe that's just what he always assumed. And I mean, me too. You always assume that something breaking in a vehicle means it's going to be either expensive or it's going to be time consuming to get taken care of. And that's not necessarily always the case. And then you're going to be kicking yourself if, like, you've been living with, for example, the the door handle missing for years when it was a $30 part that you could have just purchased and fixed yourself. So that's that's the way I kind of view the lessons section is like that, where, you know, obviously from that lesson you'll make an adjustment, and in the future you're kind of like, okay, I'm going to do better because now I know better. So I don't know, hopefully that like story and explanation kind of has helped you, because I think it can be a little bit intimidating to think, oh, I need to do reflections and I need to answer all these questions. And sometimes if you've never done it before, or for some reason you think in your mind it's one way, when maybe it's helpful to hear somebody else go through the reflection process, which is why I decided to do this video in the first place. So make sure to give it a thumbs up, because that'll help other people find this video too if you found it helpful. I don't know if I'm going to do very many other weekly reflections on here. I feel like you've got the gist of it. Unless my whole process changes over time, I doubt it. For the most part, I am enjoying using this Hemlock and Oak journal for this year. There are a little bit of, I guess, gripes I have with it being split up into two books. There's the whole I have a whole video with the review on it, and I mention it in that video. What about it I think could be better for next year, because this is the first year that they did a split. So we'll see if they even do a split next year. So I'm already kind of thinking, if they don't make a change, that I might not get the same one next year. But that might not be a deal breaker. It's just there's like missed opportunity for me to do some more extensive yearly tracking in here because of the way they split up the pages, or didn't split up the pages rather. Anyway, I like the paper, all that. So it doesn't matter. You can actually just use a regular lined notebook to do journaling. And when you get to a point in the week, you can decide on Sundays or Mondays to do like a weekly reflection. You can just label that page a weekly reflection and just reflect. You don't have to do it like this, use it in a planner. I think the whole point of doing a daily journal in a planner like this is supposed to be like the accountability, and to kind of help you see, oh, how many days are you skipping? Like you can see I didn't journal on the 17th. So it kind of can help you. It can be overwhelming though if you've never done it before. I wouldn't recommend jumping into a daily planner, especially not like this. I would more recommend you did like a weekly planner, where you have like a section this big for the week. Good example, the MakeseLife planner last year, that's what I did. Last year I used the MakeseLife horizontal to do like a little daily journal. And then in that MakeseLife planner, they have dedicated spaces for your weekly reflections. You turn the page and there's a dot page here that's weekly for the weekly reflections. And then on this side, you'll have a breakdown for your weekly actions. Obviously, that whole system has the goal pages in it as well. So that's like all in one. So that's a really good starting point, I think, if you're someone that wants to start working on goals, even if the goals are just self care related. Like, honestly, most of my goals are technically related to prioritizing um, my self care, in the sense like, am I doing all the healthy things that I know I should be doing, like going to the doctors and regularly journaling and regularly doing my yoga practices, regularly taking my vitamins, making sure I'm sleeping right, making sure I'm paying my bills. Because, like, your financial health, right? Making sure that I'm doing things that I enjoy doing, like reading or gardening, those sorts. So, like, for me, that's, and like the Moxie life system is really good for that. And their whole community is really good for that too. So, I just this year decided I had done enough with using their system and being a part of like their actual planners to feel comfortable doing this on my own. And I really do find it very helpful. I think it's because of how, not just because of how old I am, but because of how many children I have, because I have four of them. My brain is just not able to recall as well as it used to, or there's just so many things happening that it's so much easier for me to do a little bit of journaling every day about, you know, hitting the points that I feel like will be important for my weekly reflections so that when I do my weekly reflections, I can actually remember what happened in the week. Because, it's so easy to remember the bad stuff that happened in the week. Like, I could have easily only focused on, I don't know if I'd call it bad, but there was a moment this week where the day that we left on Friday, I didn't even talk about Friday, but on Friday I went. I had to go out and I needed to get to the doctor's office, the eye doctor's office before they closed because I needed to drop off some eyeglasses for my husband to get fixed. For whatever reason, that morning, the doorknob that led out of my laundry room into my garage, it just stopped. It wouldn't turn. And thankfully, we were already in the process of being in and out of the garage. So the garage door was opened and we were able to just go out the front door and that wasn't that big a deal. So that was like a delay. It was a little bit of a like, oh my gosh, what the heck? So that could have easily been the only thing I probably remembered about the week. Because for some reason, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's so much easier to for our brains to remember all the bad stuff. I don't know if it's like some kind of survival instinct thing. That would be interesting to know if that's the case. I feel like it probably is because if if you think about it, I guess if you remember the bad stuff, it helps remind you to stay safe, like remind you like, oh, make sure you do this, like you make this adjustment, I guess, to prevent XYZ from happening again. And we easily just kind of forget all about the good things, the happy moments, which is why I like to start with the wins and in the MakeseLife system too. They have it listed out with the wins first. So I think when you do your reflections starting with the wins, you have like that more positive mindset and it also makes it feel like the whole week was just so much better than you thought it was. And the more you practice doing it, the easier it is for you to point out the good things and the good moments that happened in the week and the less you focus on the the bad things because sometimes it can feel like with all the bad things that might happen that there wasn't progress made towards your goals, there weren't any wins. But then when you sit down and do the reflections, like, oh yeah, there really was a lot of stuff that happened that is pushing progress towards what my goals are. And I just totally it didn't feel like that was the case. But you can't deny the facts when you like go back and actually sit down and do the reflections. So that's the whole point. And that's like one of the biggest pieces in the Moxie Life system that I took away from it was the whole doing the reflections every week. I find myself if I don't do weekly reflections, if I go too many days without doing the week or too many weeks rather without the weekly reflections, I kind of find myself in this like mental funk of feeling like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. When in fact, the things are getting done. I'm just like not acknowledging it, if that makes sense. So, anyway, I did enough rambling there at the end. I apologize. Hopefully, you're still sticking with me. And again, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel and you are not yet subscribed and you want to see more videos like this, I usually share tools and tips to help you on your self care journey. So, obviously, journaling and doing reflections is a big part of self care, at least in my life. So, hopefully, if you like that kind of stuff, you want to stick around and see more videos like that. If you do, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.